What's up, guys? It is Def Sentence here, and I just want to talk about Ben 10. If you've been following my Instagram, you see that I wear the Ben 10 watch a lot, and I have a lot of Ben 10 merch. I am a huge, almost diehard fan of Ben 10. It is one of the best superhero shows ever, and I might even talk about how you could bring it back in another video. I'm going to be making a lot of Ben 10 videos, not going to lie. I'm watching the series again, and I got a lot on my mind. This video is going to be about the trash ass version that is Omniverse. Now, I'll be real. If you can get past a small detail that I had with this show, you might like this show. It's not as good as Ben 10 Alien Force, but it's not a bad show well, it's an okay Ben 10 successor. I'll say that. It has a lot of things that I like about it and a lot of things I dislike about it. But this one tiny detail, now, I'll be real. This detail is more controversial than what I've been hearing. But for me, I personally couldn't watch Omniverse after this year because I was so pissed that they broke up Ben and Julie. This was the power couple back in Ben 10 Alien Force. So the reason why this is a big deal, at least for me, because I grew up with Ben 10 Alien Force. I didn't really watch Ben 10 Omniverse until way later. So I just binge watched Ben 10 Alien Force and saw it over and over again. So this was my definitive Ben 10. Everything in it was definitive. The design, the characters, especially Ben and Julie. Ben literally gave up ultimate power. He literally gave up being God himself. He had the power of God and gave it up to be with Julie. So when he breaks up with her over one of the dumbest, stupidest reasons I've ever seen in Ben 10 Omniverse, I was pissed. Maybe if she died, it would have made more sense. But the fact that he simply just missed a phone call because he was playing the video game and he said to himself that he clearly wouldn't say to her in real life, like, it was very stupid. It was kind of comedic, but very, very, very fucking stupid. And after that, Julie, one of my favorite characters, gets completely written off the show. And I've never seen anything like this, to see a character. And it's not like Julie was a damsel in distress. That's one thing you can't say about her. She actually had armor. What's that nigga's name? The goo or that little robot. I forgot what it was called. I think it was called Ship or something like that. But she had a little pet alien that would literally wrap around her and give her armor. So it's not like she was even useless either. She basically was a tank and she had combat ability. So it was really weird that I saw a character like that be completely written off, like completely. I researched this to hell and back. Now, I might be wrong here, but I think the original writers of the show themselves, Ben 10 Alien Force, didn't actually like her character and decided to remove her later in Ben 10 Omniverse. And the fandom is kind of split on this. There are some who just wish she was written a lot better, and there are also some that say Ben treated Julie like shit, so seeing her break up with Ben was kind of cathartic for them. Me, I just blame the writers. There were plenty of episodes where Ben 10 Alien Force relationship was actually really good. I heavily, and I mean heavily, fucked with it. And then for them to just remove all of that development for one of the stupidest reasons ever, I couldn't do it. Ben 10 Omniverse made a lot of retcons. Ben 10 in general is an extremely retconned show. Like, the retconning started with Ben 10 Alien Force, the sequel, and continued from there. So I can't say it's completely new for the series, but still, they've made a decision this bad. So like I said, it depends on who you are. If you shit Ben and Julie, then, you know, you would care. Maybe it wouldn't be enough to stop you from watching the show, but you would definitely be kind of slightly pissed or annoyed, especially given the excuse. Or if you didn't like this show but didn't care for it, then you're one of the ones that probably actually like Ben 10 Omniverse, since you never cared about that ship to begin with. But one thing I cannot get behind is that stupid wolf girl. For those of you who don't know, I forgot her fucking name, but I'll put a picture of her on screen when I talk about her. This stupid bitch actually existed, to my shock. When I was watching all of Ben 10, she actually existed in the original, and she only showed up fucking once. She showed up, was a dick to Ben the entire episode, and the moral of the episode was Ben should, stop chasing this dumb bitch and find somebody that will accept him for being himself. She literally only considered Ben a pet. And after that was the last time, to my not to my knowledge, that they actually, they actually met. After that, they bring this dumbass character back like 10 years later and decided to make it Ben 10's definitive love interest. Seeing this dumb bitch being retconned was so stupid. And watching a relationship is so fucking forced. Literally in episode, like the second episode where they finally meet each other again, the episode not too long after that involves a kid coming back from the future and telling these two idiots that they have to be together or the future is gonna explode or some shit. They shove this new girl in your face, and for some reason, Ben10 Omniverse is fucking obsessed with Ben's love life. I'm not gonna lie. I'm super surprised it didn't try anything with Elena, since Elena was one of the more interesting love interests, at least to me. I still like Julie way more than all of again. That's the definitive couple for me. But Elena would have been interesting. I can't even lie to you. Since she actually liked Ben, she was just fucking insane. But anyway, I know I'm going on a tangent, but this is really one of my main complaints about Omniverse. Like I said, I literally cannot watch Omniverse. At best, I can watch Omniverse up to the episode where he breaks up with Julie, since those two are technically still together in Omniverse until that dumbass episode came out. But yeah, like I said, that was the definitive girl for him, and they broke it up. And like I said, I literally grew up with that. That was literally all I saw for like all my teen years. So when I found out that those two broke up over that reason, fuck Omniverse. I literally couldn't handle it anymore. Anyway, the point is, we're gonna talk about how to actually bring back Omniverse, and how Omniverse could have been good, how it could have been one of the best Ben 10 shows, and I'll make a separate video maybe how Ben 10 should have ended. But here's what Omniverse should have been. So I'm going to give this synopsis. So I really do like the first episode of Ben 10 Omniverse where he has to make his own team. So it makes complete sense that Kevin and Gwen want to take a break from the superhero life. Not retiring, but wanting to go to college and focus on themselves and just get money and make moves and get productive. And they can't only do that to fighting aliens 24/7. Ben 10 is pretty much a full-time plumber now, so I assume he makes money that way. He's a full-time superhero and he loves doing so. They love it too, but again, they want to take a break, get their lives straight, and they do occasionally come back to help them whenever the world's in crisis. So they take a little break and Ben 10 is alone. But in this universe, in my timeline, Ben 10 is not alone. He has Julie by his side. So Julie, being the loyal and upstanding girlfriend she was, even back in the series, decides to stay with Ben and help him pursue his goals. She donned ship, and Julie's not some, damsel in distress. Like I said, she literally has a battle armor and is basically just a light version of Iron Man with that suit. Think of her as basically a female version of Blue Beetle, and Ship is her scarab. So she helps Ben 10 in this series, fight off evil aliens. And Sam can still exist this time. Like I said, this series should be Ben 10 just finding a new team. First, Sam comes around, Julie likes him, but Ben doesn't, just like in the original. And maybe Julie can eventually get Ben to come around. How I would write Julie that she would basically just be his version of Hinata. She's very soft, but she is a battle-hardened warrior and isn't scared of anything. And she would basically be like Ben 10's, logical person, where like she would, since Ben 10 can get cocky and has a big ego when it comes to certain situations, she can bring him back down to earth or humble him a little bit, basically. So that's exactly how I would have it. She would basically just be there to humble him, and her and Sam and those three would go on adventures, fighting against Galactus and the first villain that Kraven's having to get in the beginning of the show. And yeah, that's basically it. That's how I would have preferred Ben 10 Omniverse to go, with just Ben 10, Julie, and Sam. And Gwen and Kevin can occasionally come back and finish off those characters. Like I said, I think these three would have been a kick-ass duo. And of course, the series ends with maybe them getting together or some shit. Now, I do want to make a separate video on how, Ben 10 should end. But honestly, I could probably just say it now if I'm being real. I can't remember the original story I made for it, since I made a fanfic years ago. But basically, Vilgax should be the final villain that Ben 10 has to defeat. Maybe he kidnaps Julie, on some hater villain shit. Kidnaps her, then he recruits all of Ben 10's old villains. Ben 10 gets his old allies, fights against his old villains, defeats them, has one final epic battle with Vilgax, and then marries Julie, and the series fucking ends. That would have been the perfect ending. Basically considered like Ben 10 the last. Naruto the last movie. This would be Ben 10 the last. But yeah, this personally, I feel like this is what Ben 10 Omniverse should have been. It should have been like basically a solo adventure. I mean, not a trio adventure with Ben, Julie, and Sam. There would be a kick-ass fire team. And, the rest of the story can go as the same. Vilgax is not a fucking joke this time. Like I said, I remember one of the episodes where that stupid grandma, I don't know her name, but that you guys know what I'm talking about. That's, again, I'll put a picture for our screen too. That stupid grandma bitch came back and they made Galactus straight up retreat when he saw her. Maybe it was for comedy purposes, but like I said, this show isn't quite as serious or funny as the original. Like I said, but with Julie there and Sam there, it will be easier to sit through the pain. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say. It's a rather short video, but like I said, this is my only growth of Omniverse. As long as these three are a trio and get proper Cyrex and moments, I feel like a lot more people would like this show. And, make the animation slightly more serious too. Ben 10 Omniverse tone isn't too light, to be honest with you. The animation gives that impression, but they actually do tell some pretty dark fucking storylines. Like I said, ben 10 Omniverse didn't entirely lose the edge. It became a bit lighthearted, but it still has that hardcore action superhero feel, which I do like. Like I said, this show does have some problems, but that retcon, man, made me pissed. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and Death Sentence out.